Hi, and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Markets. I'm Mark Granville, Senior Director at ICMA, and I'm also the Head of the Education and Training function. And today I'm speaking to Emma.
Hi Mark, I'm Emma, and I'm the Secretary to our AI in Capital Markets Working Group here at ICMA. So that involves overseeing all of our general objectives and priorities in the working group and ensuring we reach them as a collaborative effort.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. Let's start by maybe you telling us a little bit about the AI in Capital Markets Working Group. So why it was established maybe, and what is its overall purpose?
Absolutely. So the AI Working Group was established in July 2024, but that was not the beginning of ICMA's journey in looking at AI. It had been on our radar for a long time, and prior to then we had been tracking AI use cases in the market and putting them on our tracker of new fintech applications on our website as well. It had also been involved in many different aspects of our work across the board, but we didn't have a dedicated working group to that topic. We then, as part of a broader education collaboration project we were doing, reached out to a number of individuals who are experts on AI in the bond market, and we realised that there was no forum to bring these individuals together. And that was really the genesis of the AI in Capital Markets Working Group. Now, since then, we've looked at a number of things, but our main priorities remain to be regulatory considerations, market implementations, and any other sort of market industry consensus or concerns that may need to be discussed.
So they're the top priorities of the working group.
Yeah.
And how are these priorities normally determined?
So in the FinTech and Digitalization team, we have an overarching committee called FinAC, which drives our strategic objectives as a broader team and on some of the other work streams that we look at. In recent years, we've made a real drive to include more AI experts on FinAC. And as part of that, we have then developed a more strategic direction for the AI working group and also been able to break down in more detail what really is the impact of AI on the bond markets particularly, without looking more broadly necessarily to the wider financial services industry, as each part of the industry also can be impacted so differently by AI. Now, on top of that, we always work towards promoting efficient debt capital markets, interoperability, and stable and resilient debt capital markets as well. So with that in mind, we're always looking to keep technology innovation at the forefront of what we do, but maintain that it's responsible and ethical use.
Okay, and would you say that the priorities of the working group are more reactive, so kind of responding to member needs or regulatory developments, or are you aiming to sort of set the agenda in this space?
It's an interesting question. We definitely are more reactive in terms of regulatory engagement. Mm-hmm. We've seen since we started the working group the sheer volume of regulatory consultations that are out there at the moment across the globe. And we've had to be really selective in the most relevant to our industry consultations that we respond to. So in a year, we've responded to a European Commission consultation, an FCA consultation, and an IOSCO consultation as well. And we look to do a lot more as the year progresses in 2025. And likewise, at the same time, regulators are looking to their own jurisdictions to see whether they should be acting on AI. And we are keen to be involved in those conversations from the get-go so we can be informed and stay up to date as an industry on what we may need to do in future. But the real aim is to make sure that we are informed of the global agenda and that we are prepared for anything that may come our way. So we aren't looking to set an agenda, we're just looking to ensure that the industry is as prepared as possible going forwards.
So would you say that there are any particular areas, so issuance, secondary trading, risk management, surveillance, where AI is having the most impact or at least generating the most interest from members?
Yes, again, a good question, and you've named some of the key areas there that we do look at, which worked well. So instead of going over them again, I'll just say that what we're really looking at are where the biggest inefficiencies are currently in the bond lifecycle. And although AI could be used across the bond lifecycle, where are the most worthy implementations that we're seeing that will really impact what our members have to deal with in their day-to-day life. So in particular, we've looked at areas such as documentation processes, which can often be manual and involve many duplications. And likewise, at the same time, we've been looking at inconsistencies and errors in matching and settlement as well, and where AI can help. And also help towards some broader industry themes, such as the journey towards faster settlement that we're seeing at the moment.
Okay.
So really, we're just looking at where would the real change be felt in the bond lifecycle at the moment.
How would you say the working group is helping firms or member firms understand kind of the opportunity and indeed some of the limitations of AI in practice?
Exactly. One thing we haven't yet spoken about are the limitations. So as a working group, we are keen to foster innovation and encourage innovation and companies to be more confident with innovation in the industry. But with a high-risk industry like ours, you have to be aware that any new technology will present potentially additional new or just more extensive risks than not having that technology. So we talk in our working group a lot about the current frameworks that are in place, global standards and the importance of standards in AI. We've also looked at the growing emergence of teams around explainable AI, responsible AI, and also within that, the actual regulation and the differing global regulations that are at stake as well. So all in all, we factor that into our conversations whilst we balance it with looking at the implementation use cases that we see, hoping to build confidence in market participants that they can see the opportunities where other firms are taking them as well, and just understand what the market is currently doing in this space.
And are there plans in the working group to collaborate with sort of other internal ICMA groups, whether that be the technical groups like sustainable finance, for example, or repo, some around collateral, or even the comms focused groups like education and training?
Yes, especially education and training. Education is a really important area on the topic of AI, and it is hugely essential that the workforce is informed of how best to utilize AI that's at their capabilities. And that is something we reiterate a lot in the working group, is the importance of education on the topic, and that if you want to implement AI and use it effectively, you'll also need to invest heavily in the education of AI in your company. But we also have spent a long time looking at the cross-section between fintech and digitalization and sustainable finance. And in this area, we've recently launched a new task force, which is looking at the various ways these two different themes in the industry can have synergies and work together, with AI being a huge player in the sustainable finance space. For example, just to look at one instance in particular, in carbon credits, AI is already revolutionizing the process of monitoring and reporting the sort of value outputs of a carbon credit bond.
Thank you for the plug for the education and training, right? So I suppose, how do you see, as somebody who works very closely with a lot of people who are being impacted, or a lot of firms that are being impacted by AI, how do you see AI reshaping the skills landscape in capital markets? So, I mean, should professionals, in your opinion, be upskilling? And if so, in what areas?
So again, this is something we've touched on, and upskilling will be essential. It will be a sort of question of what shouldn't you be doing? Potentially the opportunities are unknown still, but the limitations are quite well known and the risks involved. So you need to be aware of your risks when you're utilizing AI in any industry across the board. And that is not specific to financial services, but the higher risk of the industry, the more aware that your workforce will need to be of what they should not be doing as much as what they can be doing as well. But in general, all upskilling is a benefit. So as much as that can be encouraged, it should be, and in financial services and in the bond markets, that's no different.
I couldn't agree with you more.
There's one more thing I'd like to add on that.
Yeah, cool.
Anyone who is interested in learning more about what they could potentially be doing on AI in the bond market should attend our fintech events that we hold We have a FinTech forum, which is held in London every year, but we also have regional events run by our ICMA committees that often look at FinTech and the topic of AI as well. So if you're keen to know what's going on in your area specifically on AI, I'd recommend you look to our events website and see what's going on.
Well, obviously courses are important, events are important.
Yeah.
Anything else that you recommend?
Courses, events, being inquisitive, and just asking in your firm who's in charge of the AI sort of strategy. Where can I learn about our AI strategy? And do we have an AI strategy? Because the sort of different departments internally can often have very different awareness, inputs, and direct interaction with AI departments in firms. So just be inquisitive, try to find out what's going on in your company, and keep your mind open.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I are both part of the internal AI working group for ICMA, right? And we know firsthand that given the different areas that it touches, it's pretty intense, man. There's a lot going on.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, look, Emma, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. And really good to hear about what we're doing in the AI space. It's good to hear that ICMA are involved. So for the rest of you who are interested in AI or what ICMA are up to in this space, please visit the website. Have a look at the fintech and digitalization space on the website. For those of you who are interested in training, icmagroup.org/education, and list of our training courses are there. Thanks very much for listening.